You've decided to start with half. Good choice. Okay, so just a quick recap. The number at the bottom of the fraction is the denominator. And this tells you, for half, this tells you it needs two equal groups or two equal parts. The numerator, which is the top number of the fraction if you remember, in this case a 1, tells you that you have to take one part from that fraction, okay? So what does a half actually look like? Well, here we have a circle, and if you remember, we need to show half of a circle. Well, that means the denominator tells you we need to split this circle into two equal groups, which looks a bit like this. Okay, so let's have a look. If we split this circle down the middle like that, okay, both groups that we've made, or both parts, should more or less be equal size, which means the same. So remember, equal means same. Okay, so we've split in two equal groups, and the numerator tells us that we need to take one part of this circle, or we shade in one part of this circle. So we can just shade it in like that. Now let's go on to this rectangle here. And again, we have to split this rectangle into half, and the denominator, which is the bottom number, tells us we need two equal groups. So let's see, we need to split this rectangle into two equal groups. So I have to remember, if I split the rectangle like this, you can see that this part here is not the same size or equal size as this part here. So that's not a half. If we were to do that, okay, since that last go wasn't quite right, let's try splitting this into two equal groups again. So probably I could either split it like this, going down like that. So look, both sides of that rectangle are equal. Fantastic. Okay, I could even split my rectangle that way, and you can see both parts are equal, which is brilliant. But don't forget, the numerator tells us we need to take or shade in one part of that rectangle, so we can shade it in. Bit like now. Also very importantly, you can see down here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 little black dots. If you imagine the chocolate chips, oh, love chocolate chips. Okay, so we've got 4 chocolate chips down here, and I want to split half of those 4 chocolate chips. Well, if you remember, that 2 at the bottom means we need two equal groups. So let's make two equal groups. Okay, imagine these are my plates. I've got two massive plates. Now we want to split these 4 chocolate chips into those two groups. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 chocolate chips. Now, if we have a look at one group, because the numerator says 1, in this one group, how many chocolate chips do you think we have? What does your partner think? Do they think the same as you? Well, we've got 1, 2 chocolate chips. So, what's half of 4 chocolate chips? That's 2. Now, before you start playing with any of the food in our bakery, okay, because it's super, oh, this is going to be the best bakery ever. We need to practice making sure we know how to show halves. Now, if you get confused at all during the activity, remember, you can pause, rewind, and watch this video again to help you to remember how to find a half. So this is what you have to do next. So before you participate in our bakery, we've got a couple of different things that we need you to do first to practice learning about halves. You've got some different strips of paper, you've got some different shapes. Now, what we'd like you to do is to take these different strips of paper and make at least, say, about 5, okay, ways of showing us a half. So, this is what I'm going to do. Here I've got, as you can see, I've got a long strip of paper, which is rectangular, and I want to make a half. Now, if I remember rightly, a half requires you to do 2 equal groups, because that's what the denominator is. So, I've got to split this paper into half. Well, before we make any permanent crease, let's see which way I can fold it. If I folded it like this, okay, if I folded it like that, you can clearly see that this group here is larger than this group here. So that's not equal. They've got to be the same size. So let's try that again. Okay, let's say I folded it like this. Okay, now as you can see, if I just move that a bit closer, this group here is obviously going to be smaller than that group there. So that doesn't work either. So actually, let's see if we try maybe like that. Okay, so all of you can see, I've actually got half there, because actually, if I were to fold that now, crease that down, okay, I'm pretty sure that's half. If we were to open it up, look that we've got 1, 2 groups, or 2 parts, and both parts are equal sizes. Okay, both parts are equal sizes. Now, the numerator says we need to take 1 part. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my pen, okay, or highlighter in this case, and I'm going to shade in 1/2 of that. Okay, you guys can actually use a color pencil. Don't need to use a normal pencil. Feel free to use a color pencil. Shade in 1/2. Okay. And I'm going to write in there 1/2. Okay, and I'll write on the other side 1/2 as well. Okay, and it looks a bit like this. So I've shaded in 1/2 of my rectangle, and on both sides I've written 1/2 there and 1/2 there. And that's what you need to do. So have a go. Do the same as me. See how many different ways you can make a 1/2. This is just one way. There are plenty of different ways. Try any of the shapes on your tables. Once you've done 5, take a picture of them all. Okay, then show your teacher, and they'll let you move on to the next activity.